4 emotions that can completely change your life. Have you ever wondered why some people change their lives almost overnight, while others stay stuck in the same place for years? It's rarely because they suddenly became smarter. It's not because they won the lottery. And it's certainly not because life suddenly became easier. Most life-changing transformations begin with something much simpler, an emotional shift. One moment, one realization, one decision that says, I refuse to live like this anymore. Think about the biggest changes you've ever made. Maybe you finally committed to exercising. Maybe you ended a toxic relationship. Maybe you started saving money. Maybe you chose to learn a new skill. Chances are, logic didn't start those changes. Emotion did. Emotions are often viewed as obstacles that cloud our judgment. But when understood correctly, they can become powerful engines for personal growth. Today, we're going to explore 4 emotions that have the power to reshape your future. These aren't random feelings that come and go. They're emotional turning points that can change the direction of your entire life. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to recognize these emotions, how to use them instead of ignoring them, and why your future may depend on acting when they appear. The first emotion is one that most people try to avoid, but it may be the most powerful of them all. Enough is enough. There comes a day in many people's lives when they simply reach their limit. Not because life became unbearable overnight, but because they've finally become tired of accepting less than they're capable of. Maybe you're tired of procrastinating. Maybe you're tired of making promises to yourself that you never keep. Maybe you're tired of watching other people succeed while you stay exactly where you were last year. This emotion doesn't feel pleasant. It feels uncomfortable. It feels frustrating. Sometimes it even feels painful. But hidden inside that discomfort is incredible power. Because nothing changes until you become more uncomfortable staying the same than changing. Imagine someone who has spent years saying they'll get healthy. Every Monday they promise themselves they'll start exercising. Every month they promise they'll eat better. Every new year, they write down the same resolution. Then one morning, they climb a flight of stairs and find themselves completely out of breath. Something clicks. For the first time, they don't just wish things were different. They decide they cannot continue living this way. That emotional shift changes everything. The workout they skipped yesterday suddenly becomes important. The healthy meal they've avoided suddenly seems worth preparing. Not because motivation magically appeared, but because their standards changed. The same thing happens financially. Many people live from paycheck to paycheck for years, not because they can't improve, but because they haven't yet reached the emotional point where they're unwilling to continue living that way. Then one unexpected expense arrives, a car repair, a medical bill, a missed opportunity, and suddenly they realize how vulnerable they've become. That frustration becomes fuel. They begin learning about budgeting. They start reading books about investing. They develop new skills that increase their income. What changed? Not their intelligence, their emotional threshold. The moment you say, enough, you stop negotiating with excuses. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for perfect timing. Instead, you begin acting. That's why many successful people describe a defining moment when they finally became sick of their old habits. That moment wasn't the end of their struggle. It was the beginning of their transformation. This means sell approaches. The next emotion that has the power to transform your life is decision. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they never fully decide. There's a huge difference between saying, I want to change, and saying, I have decided to change. The first statement is a wish. The second is a commitment. Think about how much mental energy we waste by avoiding decisions. We spend weeks wondering whether we should start a business, months debating whether we should learn a new skill, years thinking about changing careers, getting healthier, or chasing a dream. Meanwhile, life keeps moving. Every day you delay a decision is another day your future stays exactly the same. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One road leads toward the life you've always imagined. The other leads back to the comfort of familiarity. The longer you stand there, the more exhausted you become. Not because choosing is difficult, but because uncertainty drains your energy. Ironically, once you finally choose a direction, the pressure begins to disappear. You stop asking, should I, and start asking, how do I? That's when progress begins. Successful people aren't people who always make perfect decisions. They're people who make decisions, learn from the results, and keep moving forward. Even a wrong decision often teaches you something valuable, but no decision teaches you nothing. Remember this: indecision is also a decision. Choosing not to act is choosing to remain where you are. If you've been waiting for the perfect moment, consider this: perfect moments rarely arrive. Most successful people began before they felt ready. They acted with uncertainty. They learned along the way. And eventually, confidence caught up with action. Ask yourself today, what decision have I been postponing? What conversation have I been avoiding? What opportunity keeps appearing in my mind? Maybe today is the day to stop thinking and start deciding. Because one clear decision can change the direction of the next 10 years. Now let's move to the third emotion, desire. Every remarkable achievement begins with wanting something deeply enough. Not casually, not occasionally, but intensely. Desire is what gets you out of bed before sunrise. It's what keeps you studying after everyone else has gone to sleep. It's what helps you continue when results are invisible. The truth is, nobody can give you desire. People can inspire you. They can encourage you. They can teach you. But they cannot create your hunger. That comes from within. The interesting thing about desire is that it often appears unexpectedly. Sometimes one sentence changes everything. Sometimes a single documentary. Sometimes a conversation with a stranger. Sometimes watching someone who started with less than you succeed. Suddenly, something awakens inside you. You begin imagining a different future. You realize your current life doesn't have to define your entire story. That's why it's important to expose yourself to new ideas. Read books, listen to podcasts, travel if you can, meet ambitious people, attend seminars, take courses. Every experience has the potential to spark a new dream. But there's another side to desire. It must be protected. Every day you'll encounter people who tell you your dream is unrealistic. Some won't mean any harm. They're simply projecting their own fears. Others may laugh because they've stopped believing in possibilities themselves. Don't allow someone else's limited vision to become your limitation. Guard your ambition. Feed it daily. Remind yourself why you started. One practical way to strengthen desire is to visualize your future. Close your eyes and imagine the person you're becoming. Imagine waking up excited about your work. Imagine financial freedom. Imagine helping your family. Imagine traveling to places you've only seen in pictures. Imagine looking back years from now knowing you gave your best effort. Those images matter because the mind naturally moves toward the pictures it repeatedly sees. The clearer your vision becomes, the stronger your desire grows. But remember, desire without action is only fantasy. That's why the final emotion is perhaps the most important of all: resolve. Resolve is different from motivation. Motivation says, I feel like doing it today. Resolve says, I'll do it whether I feel like it or not. This is where champions separate themselves from everyone else. Anyone can work when they're excited. Anyone can stay committed when life is easy. The real test comes on difficult days, the days when you're tired, the days when nothing seems to be working, the days when you wonder if your effort even matters. Resolve whispers, keep going. Consider how a tree grows. You don't plant a seed today and expect a forest tomorrow. For weeks, nothing seems to happen. Yet, beneath the surface, roots are spreading. Strength is developing where nobody can see it. Success works the same way. People often admire someone's achievements without seeing the years of invisible work behind them. The early mornings, the late nights, the failures, the sacrifices, the moments they wanted to quit but didn't. Resolve means making a promise to yourself, a promise that temporary setbacks will never become permanent excuses. You may fail, you may lose, you may need to start over, but you will not stop. That mindset alone gives you a tremendous advantage, because most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they quit too soon. Your greatest opportunity often exists just beyond the point where most people give up. So, when obstacles appear, and they will, remember why you started. Remember the future you're building. Remember the people who are depending on you. And most importantly, remember the promise you made to yourself. Because every great success story is simply a collection of ordinary days where someone refused to quit. Now, here's the truth that connects everything we've talked about. Disgust can wake you up. Decision can point you in the right direction. Desire can fill you with energy. Resolve can keep you moving. But none of those emotions will change your life unless they lead to one final step: action. Action is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. Without it, every dream remains an idea. Every goal stays on paper. Every promise becomes another forgotten memory. Think about it. How many books have you read without applying what you learned? How many motivational videos have you watched? How many times have you said, "I'll start tomorrow"? Information is valuable, but information alone doesn't create transformation. Execution does. The world rewards people who take action, not because they're perfect, but because they're willing to begin before they know everything. Many people wait until they feel confident. The truth is, confidence usually comes after action, not before it. A child doesn't learn to ride a bicycle by reading instructions. They learn by getting on the bike, falling, getting back up, trying again. That's how progress works in every area of life. The entrepreneur starts before every answer is clear. The athlete trains before seeing results. The writer finishes the first draft before it becomes a masterpiece. The musician practices long before performing on stage. Action creates experience. Experience creates confidence. Confidence creates bigger action. And that cycle continues until your life looks completely different from where it began. But there's another important lesson. Be careful not to mistake positive thinking for progress. Optimism is valuable. Believing in yourself matters. Visualizing success has its place. But none of those things replace consistent effort. Imagine someone standing at the bottom of a mountain repeating, "I believe I can reach the top." That's wonderful. But unless they start climbing, they'll still be standing there years later. Positive thoughts are like fuel. Discipline is the engine. Without the engine, the fuel goes nowhere. That's why successful people develop habits instead of relying on motivation. They create routines that continue even when excitement fades. They schedule their priorities. They keep promises to themselves. They understand that small actions repeated daily become extraordinary results over time. Success rarely arrives through one giant breakthrough. More often, it grows from hundreds of small decisions made consistently. Reading 10 pages every day, saving a little money every month, practicing one new skill every week, improving just 1% each day. Those tiny actions compound into remarkable achievements. So instead of asking, "How can I change my life overnight?" ask, "What can I do today that my future self will thank me for?" Maybe it's making one phone call. Maybe it's applying for one opportunity. Maybe it's spending 30 minutes learning instead of scrolling through social media. Maybe it's writing the first page of your book. Maybe it's taking a walk instead of skipping another workout. Small actions matter. Never underestimate them. Now, before we finish, I want to leave you with 4 questions. Questions that have the power to change the way you think. The first question is simple. Why? Why do you want a better life? Why do you want financial freedom? Why do you want to become healthier? Why do you want to build a business? Why do you want to leave a legacy? Your why gives meaning to your effort. Without purpose, discipline becomes difficult. But when your reason is strong enough, obstacles become easier to overcome. The second question is equally important. Why not? Why not aim higher? Why not develop new skills? Why not become the first person in your family to achieve something extraordinary? Why not write that book? Why not build that company? Why not become the person you admire? So many limits exist only because we've accepted them without questioning them. Ask yourself honestly, what would I attempt if I stopped assuming I couldn't? The third question is even more personal. Why not you? Every successful person you admire started somewhere. They had fears, they made mistakes, they faced rejection, they experienced failure. What separated them wasn't perfection, it was persistence. They continued after most people stopped. The opportunities that changed their lives weren't reserved exclusively for them. They simply chose to pursue them. There's no reason your story can't become one that inspires someone else. Years from now, someone may ask how you transformed your life. What will your answer be? Finally, the last question, perhaps the most important of all. Why not now? How much longer will you wait? How many more Mondays? How many more New Years? How many more promises to yourself? Life doesn't pause while we hesitate. Every day becomes yesterday faster than we expect. The best time to plant a tree was years ago. The second best time is today. The same is true for your dreams. Start learning today. Start saving today. Start building today. Start improving today. Don't worry about becoming perfect. Focus on becoming better. One day at a time, one habit at a time, one decision at a time. Remember the 4 emotions we've explored. Let frustration remind you that change is necessary. Let decision give you direction. Let desire fuel your ambition. Let resolve carry you through difficult seasons. Then back every one of those emotions with action, because action is what turns hope into reality. As you leave this video, don't simply feel inspired, do something. Write down your goals, create a plan, send the email, make the call, open the book, start the course, take the walk. Whatever your next step is, take it today. Years from now, you'll look back at this ordinary day and realize it wasn't ordinary at all. It was the day you stopped waiting. It was the day you chose growth over comfort. It was the day your future quietly began. Because your life doesn't change when you wish for something better. Your life changes the moment you decide, commit, and take action. The next chapter of your story is waiting. The only question left is this: will you begin today? If this message inspired you, don't let the inspiration fade after this video ends. Choose one action, just one, and complete it before the day is over. Small actions create momentum. Momentum creates confidence, and confidence creates a life you once thought was impossible. Thank you for watching. Keep learning, keep growing, keep moving forward, and never stop becoming the person you're capable of being.